Not every powerful man needs to be loud. Not every strategy needs to be seen. And not every move has to be explained. The Sigma male knows this better than anyone. While others chase attention, the Sigma stays quiet. While others fight for control, he moves without resistance. He doesn't need approval, doesn't want followers, and definitely doesn't waste time proving himself. That's what makes him dangerous, because you never see the real strategy coming. A Sigma male doesn't use brute strength or obvious tactics to win. He uses his mind. He studies the field. He sees through people. And most importantly, he confuses and outsmarts those who try to control, attack, or stop him. He's not interested in revenge or drama, he's interested in results. And he gets those results by using subtle, intelligent methods that most people overlook. His enemies don't understand him. They can't predict him. And that's exactly how he likes it. Because when you're unpredictable, you're powerful. When people don't know what your next move is, they overthink, they guess wrong, and they make mistakes. The Sigma doesn't respond to threats with noise. He responds with silence, action, and quiet disruption. He doesn't play by his enemy's rules. He makes his own rules, plays his own game, and most of the time wins without even showing his full hand. If you've ever seen someone stay calm under pressure, never explain himself, and still come out ahead, chances are you were looking at a Sigma male in action. This video is about how that kind of man wins without fighting, how he confuses the ones who try to stop him, and how he outsmarts them not by being louder, but by being smarter. We're going to break down 6 genius ways the Sigma male takes control of the situation without ever needing to raise his voice. These aren't cheap tricks. These are real psychological tools he's developed through observation, patience, and self-discipline. And once you understand these ways, you'll start seeing how powerful quiet intelligence really is. Let's get into it. Way number 1. Disappearing when least expected. When most people face conflict, they do one of 2 things. They either attack or defend. They push back, raise their voice, or try to win with force. But the Sigma male moves differently. When his enemies expect him to respond, he disappears. Quietly. Completely. Without warning. This sudden withdrawal isn't weakness. It's calculation. He knows that sometimes vanishing is more powerful than confrontation. Because when you remove yourself from the board, you force your enemies to play blind. You give them nothing to aim at, nothing to control, and nothing to react to. The Sigma uses his absence as a tool. He lets silence do the work. Because silence creates discomfort. It forces people to think, to wonder, to doubt themselves. The person who disappears makes others start asking questions. Did I push too hard? Is he planning something? Is he even affected? That mental spiral is exactly what the Sigma wants. By not reacting, he keeps his power. He doesn't give the enemy the satisfaction of seeing his anger. He doesn't give them clues about what he's thinking. He just vanishes, and in doing so becomes more dangerous than ever. Sometimes this looks like cutting off contact. Sometimes it's stepping away from a toxic situation. Sometimes it's going completely quiet in the middle of an argument. Whatever form it takes, the result is always the same. His enemy loses control of the situation. And here's the real genius behind it. People fear what they don't understand. When someone expected a reaction and didn't get one, they feel unstable. They start to project. They create false stories in their head about what the Sigma might be doing. And most of the time, those stories are worse than the truth. That's how he wins, by not playing the same emotional game. Disappearing is also a way for the Sigma to gather strength, to plan, to observe. While others waste energy fighting battles in the open, he's recovering in the shadows, thinking 10 steps ahead. It takes discipline to disappear. It takes self-control not to speak, not to react, not to fight back when provoked. But the Sigma male has trained himself to hold that control. And it always pays off. The people who think he's weak for walking away eventually realize he was never walking away. He was stepping back to set the board his way. And by the time they figure that out, he's already made his next move. Way number 2. Speaking in questions, not statements. Most people talk to be heard, to control, to prove a point. But the Sigma male knows that when you speak less and ask the right questions, you take control of the conversation without ever making it obvious. When he deals with enemies, whether in personal life, work, or everyday situations, he doesn't confront with direct attacks. He uses questions. Simple, clear, and unsettling. Why did you say that? Is that what you really think? How do you figure that helps you? These aren't just random words. These are tools. Because when you ask a question, you flip the pressure onto the other person. Now they have to think. Now they have to explain. And if they're lying, manipulating, or overstepping, you've just exposed it without even raising your voice. Speaking in questions keeps the Sigma in control. It makes people feel uncertain. Even when he already knows the answer, he still asks. Not to get information, but to see how people respond. How they move when the pressure is subtle but real. His enemies don't realize what's happening at first. They think they're in charge of the conversation until they find themselves over-explaining, second-guessing, or getting nervous. That's because the Sigma isn't reacting emotionally. He's steering everything with calm, focused questions that make others trip over their own words. This way of speaking also gives him flexibility. He can guide the direction of a conversation without ever making hard claims. That makes him hard to pin down. If someone tries to twist his words, they can't, because he never made a bold statement. He asked a question, and that keeps him safe. It also forces his enemies to think deeper than they want to. Questions break the rhythm of predictable thinking. They force people to pause, to reflect. And during that pause, the Sigma male watches, studies, learns. He doesn't use this to play games. He uses it to protect his space, test people's motives, and expose hidden agendas. A question can reveal more than a lecture ever could. And when done right, the enemy walks away confused, unsure, and often embarrassed, not even realizing why. That's the quiet power of the Sigma. He doesn't speak to show off. He speaks to uncover. And once the truth is on the table, he doesn't need to say anything more. Way number 3. Controlled leaks. Dropping misdirection. A Sigma male doesn't always play his cards close to the chest. Sometimes he lets the world see exactly what he wants them to see, just not the full picture. He knows that information is power, and controlling what others know gives him the upper hand. Especially when it comes to dealing with enemies. But he never reveals everything. Instead, he drops bits and pieces, just enough to guide the thinking of others in a direction he chooses. This tactic, known as controlled leaking, allows him to plant misdirection without ever lying. He might let someone believe he's struggling while quietly working on a breakthrough. He might appear distracted or disinterested, when in reality he's collecting data and measuring motives. He lets others fill in the blanks, and most of the time they get it wrong. And that's exactly what he wants. By releasing half-truths, by letting incomplete stories circulate, the Sigma male creates a fog. Inside that fog, his enemies move blindly. They assume things. They make decisions based on what they think they know, and those decisions often backfire. That's the trick. The Sigma never directly deceives. He doesn't have to. He just allows others to believe what they want, based on selective information. And when the truth finally reveals itself, the damage has already been done. This strategy also buys him time. While others are distracted trying to piece together his actions, he's 2 steps ahead. While they waste energy reacting to what they believe is true, he's working on what's actually true. Controlled leaks are also useful in confrontation. If an enemy is watching too closely, trying to predict his next move, the Sigma might drop a subtle comment. Something vague. Something that sounds like a clue. And then he'll let silence take over. The enemy starts chasing ghosts, overthinking every word, every move, every possibility. Meanwhile, the Sigma is moving freely without resistance. This method of confusion is clean. No shouting. No scenes. Just a quiet redirection of attention. And here's the deeper layer. This tactic shows just how disciplined the Sigma male really is. Most people can't hold their tongue. They want to defend themselves. Correct misunderstandings. Explain their intentions. The Sigma male has trained himself not to need that. He understands that silence plus strategy is a better weapon than the truth shouted at the wrong time. He leaks what is useful, conceals what is important, and lets his enemies build their own trap, based on assumptions he gave them permission to make. That's the genius of controlled misdirection. He doesn't tell lies. He lets people lie to themselves. Way number 4, observing from the shadows. While others rush to make their presence known, the Sigma male holds back. He listens, watches, studies. Long before he takes any action, he already understands the room, the people, the patterns. That's because he moves from the shadows, not the spotlight. The Sigma's power doesn't come from being seen. It comes from what he sees while remaining unseen. This isn't about being passive. It's about collecting data. He notices what others miss, small shifts in tone, subtle body language, quiet inconsistencies in stories. These things tell him more than loud arguments ever could. He watches who interrupts others, who speaks only to impress, who acts confident but lacks substance. He picks up on these cues like a code and stores them for later use. And when the time is right, he uses that information with precision. He doesn't announce his observations. He doesn't reveal what he knows until there's a purpose. That's why when he finally does act, it feels sudden, but it's not. It's the result of long, careful observation. This habit makes his enemies uncomfortable, because they don't know what he's thinking. They don't know what he's planning. They sense that he's paying attention, but they don't know what he's noticed. That mystery alone creates tension. In competitive environments like work or business, this gives him a huge advantage. While others make fast moves to stand out or get noticed, the Sigma is collecting patterns, waiting for someone to slip, waiting for the moment when a quiet push will cause the biggest shift. This observation mode also protects him. By learning people's behaviors before trusting them, he avoids betrayal. He sees red flags early. He catches the signs most people ignore. And because he doesn't reveal his full attention, people get comfortable around him. They talk too much. They expose their weaknesses. They don't realize they're being studied until it's too late. In any setting, the Sigma male's silence isn't emptiness. It's full of insight. He's calculating, not sleeping. He's thinking, not absent. Enemies who mistake that silence for weakness quickly find out that every quiet moment was preparation. And by the time they realize it, he's already shifted the balance of power in his favor. Way number 5. Turning attack into opportunity. When most people face attack, whether it's a personal insult, a professional challenge, or someone trying to break their reputation, they go into defense mode. They try to fight back, prove themselves, clear their name. But the Sigma male sees attack differently. He sees it as energy, and he turns that energy into fuel. He doesn't panic. He doesn't crumble. Instead, he watches what the attack reveals. Because when someone attacks, they expose themselves. Their jealousy, their insecurity, their fear. And the Sigma knows that the attack says more about the attacker than the target. That's why he stays calm. He doesn't need to fire back right away. He lets the attacker talk. The more they say, the more they reveal. And all the while, the Sigma is collecting information. But he doesn't stop there. He turns the attack into opportunity. If someone questions his value, he uses that as motivation to become undeniable. If someone blocks his progress, he builds his own path. If someone spreads rumors, he uses silence as his statement and lets results speak louder than gossip. He doesn't just survive attacks. He flips them. Sometimes this happens in public settings. Someone might try to discredit him in front of others. The Sigma doesn't respond emotionally. He lets the moment sit. He lets others watch the attacker unravel. And then, when the timing is right, he speaks with clarity. Not to destroy, but to clarify. To remove doubt with strength, not noise. Other times he doesn't respond at all. He just works harder, grows stronger, elevates so high that the attack looks petty in comparison. That's the real flex. Not revenge, not destruction, but self-improvement so undeniable that the enemy's attack becomes irrelevant. And here's the hidden layer. The Sigma male knows that attacks often come when he's getting close to something big. People lash out when they feel threatened. So when he's under attack, he doesn't ask, "Why me?" He asks, "What am I doing right?" That mindset alone keeps him powerful. It turns criticism into clarity, hatred into momentum, opposition into fuel. He doesn't run from attacks. He absorbs them, learns from them, grows through them. And in the end, the enemy isn't just confused. They're left wondering how he keeps rising, no matter what they throw at him. Way number 6, silent persistence. Victory through consistency. The Sigma male doesn't win with fast moves. He wins with steady ones, quiet ones. While his enemies try to make a scene, he builds in silence. While others get tired from trying too hard, he keeps going at his own pace. That's how he wins, through silent persistence. People often underestimate him because he doesn't show his progress. He doesn't talk about his goals, doesn't broadcast his work, and doesn't brag when he hits milestones. But just because you can't see the progress doesn't mean it's not happening. Every day he makes moves. Small, smart, and consistent. He trains. He learns. He improves. And he does it without asking for attention or applause. Enemies think he's quiet because he's not doing much. But one day they look up and he's 10 steps ahead. That's what silent persistence does. It builds a foundation so strong that by the time the results are visible, it's already too late to stop him. This method is especially powerful because it creates confusion. People expect change to be loud, fast, flashy. But when the Sigma male grows slowly, silently, and consistently, his enemies don't know how to respond. They don't see the work, so they assume nothing is happening. That's their mistake. The Sigma understands that most people burn out chasing quick success. They want instant wins. He doesn't. He knows that real power takes time. So he doesn't sprint, he marches. Steady, focused, relentless. He also doesn't stop when it gets hard. That's where his enemies give up. They hit obstacles and back down. The Sigma? He adjusts. He learns. He keeps moving forward. This persistence wears down opposition over time. Enemies get tired. They get bored. They move on. But the Sigma stays locked in. And by staying locked in, he outlasts everyone. This trait is what makes him so difficult to stop. You can block him once, maybe twice, but you can't block a man who keeps showing up. Who keeps pushing forward no matter what. Even in failure, the Sigma doesn't stop. He doesn't fall apart when things go wrong. He treats it like data. Feedback. Information that makes him better for the next move. And the most dangerous part? He doesn't celebrate early. He doesn't slow down after one win. He keeps going. Quiet. Sharp. Always improving. This confuses his enemies because they can't find his weakness. He's not emotional. He's not loud. He's not reckless. And he doesn't stop. That combination is rare and powerful. Silent persistence is the Sigma male's final weapon. It doesn't make noise. It doesn't need recognition. But in the end, it gets results that no one can ignore. A Sigma male doesn't need to fight loud battles to win. He uses intelligence, patience, and subtle moves that others don't even notice until it's too late. He disappears when needed. He speaks in questions. He leaks only what helps him. He watches from the shadows. He turns attacks into fuel. And through it all, he keeps moving forward, quietly, consistently, and always in control. That's what makes him powerful. Not just because he's smart, but because he knows when to wait, when to speak, and when to strike. If you recognize these traits in yourself or in someone you know, respect the process. These are not tricks. These are tools sharpened through awareness and discipline. Let others chase the spotlight. The Sigma male doesn't need it. His moves speak for themselves.